Peace, everyone. My name is Jasmine, and this is my journal. Today is December 27th. December 27th. I decided to take a different approach today. Instead of sharing more personal stories, there's a story time to this. I figure I share something that I've been studying lately because I am I think it's because I'm a medium, but I am very interested in like what goes on um, in spirit, and and what happens during things like near death experiences, or what the soul experiences between lifetimes and all types of stuff like that. That's what I read about a lot, and that's what I like researching or even watching YouTube videos about. So I put together a little slideshow so we can talk about near death experiences, and at the end I'll share one of mine. I do have a best friend, Tish. She's been on here a few times that I almost lost. She had a near death experience, and she's going to come on here and speak about hers, but it won't be this episode. It'll probably have to be another episode. So hold on, let me get that up and we can get started. All right, guys. So, near death experiences by Memoir. And it's only going to take a few minutes for me to share this. So, a near death proof of we're going to call them NDEs, near death experiences. They date all the way back to ancient times. I mean, people have found carvings on cave walls where they have documented near death experiences. The early documented case came in about 1740 in a book written by Pierre Jean du Mauchanc. Please forgive me if I butcher his name, but he had written a few accounts in that book, and those are some of the first like documented cases of near-death experiences that's in writing. So let's talk about what is an NDE. A near-death experience, according to Merriam-Webster, is an experience in which a person comes very close to dying and has memories of a spiritual experience, such as meeting dead friends and family members or seeing a white light during the time when death was near. So basically, what happens is that some people may be deemed clinically dead, and they'll leave the body, and they have these experiences, and they come back into their bodies, and they're able to recall the information to share that happened to them. There they this I'm kind of funny about this, but I found this article and it talks about different types of near death experiences. One being fear. I did like watch this video on YouTube about a young lady who had passed away suddenly um for a certain amount of time. Of course, she's back alive again, but she was poisoned. So she kind of felt herself slipping away, and she was very, very, very afraid. So the experience was very frightening for her. She couldn't figure out what was going on. She felt stuck. She was panicking, and that was all she remembered. Um, there are accounts where people see like pets or animals and stuff like that, or like they had a dog that they loved. Or I read one account where a young lady went to a place and it was just full of animals. I know certain religious beliefs believe that animals or pets do not have souls and stuff like that. But as a medium, I have done readings where pets have come through to communicate. So I definitely believe that pets are a bit more evolved than some belief systems may believe. Some people experience like a bright light. They may see like very bright lights or bright lights, or some people may even see orbs too. Violence and persecution. So I hear a lot of stories about people experience violence and persecution with NDEs, or people who have certain religious beliefs or certain beliefs, and coming back too from that NDE, they may feel like they have to change their ways and stuff like that. Some people might see deja vu, like familiar things might feel familiar. Um, it's a great amount of people that see friends and family, when they go through these experiences. I had a family member, the whole family was in a car accident and the father passed away. It was a really, really bad car accident. They had pulled over on the side of the road and the truck had hit them. And my aunt, who's passed away now, may peace and blessings be upon her, but she recalled being in a tunnel with her husband, and she also saw, I think, another family member that had passed away, but he told her to go back. Like, you got to go back. It's not time yet, and I have to go. And he left her and went. So I do hear that often too. And another thing I want to talk about one day too is like what people, because being a nurse for so long, I hear a lot of accounts of interactions that people have with family members that are already deceased right before they pass on. The interesting thing that I found on my research is people who suffer from cardiac arrest. And they have some of the highest numbers of near death experiences to account for. Like, a lot of them, they have the outer body experience where they're able to see themselves being operated on by the medical team, or they're able to float outside of their bodies, or they're able to go other places and come back into their bodies. I hear that a lot with cardiac arrest. So there are different stages if you want to split them up. One stage is the out of body experience. That's when your soul leaves your body. The second one is the tunnel. You hear a lot of people talk about a tunnel. Then there's visions of love, close encounters, life review, and at the gates. So I'll explain more as we go. The first one, out of body, that's usually described as a sense of floating or a sense of peace. Some people report seeing their own bodies, like they're floating up in the air and they could look down and see their own bodies. And like I said before, people after suffering from cardiac events, they also have reported seeing their medical team like trying to resuscitate them. The tunnel. So a lot of people report moving through a tunnel. Some I've read and watched videos about, they went across like maybe bridges, or they went through a cave, or like something that looks like a kaleidoscope or a valley. There's usually light at the end of the tunnel, and they usually go towards the light. Love. People usually say that when they step into the light, they feel this overwhelming sense of love. It's like this real bright light and this overwhelming sense of love and peace. And some people may even go to like what they consider quote heavenly unquote destinations, like beautiful cities, landscapes, places full of light and things like that. Those are things that they describe that they see when they're in these places. Visitations. Now, people report seeing family members and pets. Those tend to be the most common, but there are some that see like different spirits, angels, people that they will feel like they saw angels, extraterrestrials. People recall seeing like Jesus, God, or different beings from different places. One of the best accounts I watched a YouTube video on, and this man said that he had traveled to this place and he felt like it was God he was talking to, and God showed him like different planets of beings that were like, of higher vibration, and he got to talk with them, and then he got to see like the earth from different perspectives and how things would end and things that would happen. Like, he knew that something was going to happen in New York City years before the 9/11 attacks happened. So I think it's very neat that some of them can't come back knowing. Life review. Some people make it as far, and also I just want to make it clear that everybody don't go through the same exact stages. Some people are different in what they go through. The life review is like a recall of life events. That's when you sit before somebody and you kind of view your life. You might see it from different perspectives. Like, let's say you're a horrible parent, you might see it from the perspective of your children, or you were a horrible spouse, or you made a mistake, and they might show you like different ways or different choices that you could have made in order to prevent some of the things that happened to you in your lifetime. I forgot where I read it at, but I remember reading a story about a young lady who She drowned and she had a life review. I think this was in one of Dr. Michael Newton's book, and she had a life review. And this is not speaking of an NDE, but it's just speaking of a life review. Her husband was a farmer. She was like really young. She was teenage. She was pregnant. The plan was for him to come back and marry her, but he ended up dying somehow, tragically. So she killed herself. So she sat down during her life review and they showed her like other options. Like, okay, had she lived and told everybody she was pregnant, she may have been sent away to a home, or she may have remarried off later and struggled a little bit, but she would have made it through. There were other options besides taking her life. And those are the type of things that happen like during a life review. It is not like a form of punishment, but it's basically more like a learning experience. The gate. So this is where some souls can choose whether they want to like continue on to the other side, or whether they want to come back to earth. Some have a choice, but some do not. Some they have to return. And oftentimes they probably have a mission here to complete, or they feel a sense of purpose. I have read several accounts where people come back in their spiritual gifts, because I believe that everyone has a spiritual gift, but their spiritual gifts are stronger. They can see better, they can feel better, and just stuff like that. So there is a scale that they use, and it's called the Grayson criteria, and it's used to measure the extent of near-death experiences. It was developed in the 1970s, and it's a list of questions. I think there's 16, because the highest score you can get is 32. And the questions have like numbers from 0 to 2, and they'll ask each question about your experience. A prime example is like, did you feel a sense of peace, or um, did time move faster or slow down, or did you see other places? And it just asks like a whole bunch of questions. Any total that's above the number 7 is considered an NDE. Um, you can like look at the Grayson criteria online. You could just Google Grayson criteria and it'll come up with all the questions. I took it myself and I will share the answers. See, that was a really quick slide. Basically, NDEs are extraordinary phenomena, and they've happened since the ancient times to people all over the world. And even though like some of the accounts are different, the experiences are very similar. So I just think it's dope that so many people around the world can share such similar experiences, even though it's done, they've happened like in their own way. So I had a near death experience a few years ago, and I was about maybe 20, 21. I don't know if my youngest son was born yet. I may have been 20, 19 or 20, and I had took an antibiotic. It was a Bactrim, and mind you, I had taken Bactrim before. That was nothing new, but I had took a Bactrim and was sitting there chilling, and my buddy Brian was over. His girlfriend Crystal, who was over at the time, she had left to go to the store, and the relationship I was in with who would be my youngest son father, we had a real bad fight. So he was down the street and he was not answering my calls. Well, I was sitting there, and next thing you know, like I felt burning, like real bad. Like my I can't explain it, but like my skin was tingling really, really bad. And I looked at Brian and I'm like, Brian, something's wrong. So I said, I'm burning, I'm on fire. So I ran upstairs real fast and just got in the shower. I remember like I was almost fully clothed in the water. I turned on the shower, got in the water, and I was screaming like, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. I never forget. Brian tried to call my son's dad, my boyfriend at the time, but he wouldn't answer. And I was in the bathroom screaming. So it's kind of funny now that you look back at it. But Brian runs in the bathroom. He said, "Are you okay?" And I opened the shower curtain. I'm like, "No, I'm not okay." And he was like, "Oh, your face." So I hopped out the tub and I went and looked in the mirror, and I just saw my face just blow up in the mirror. Like, whoop. My throat closed up and I could not breathe. And I was trying to catch my breath. By this time, Crystal had came in. This is all happening simultaneously. She's calling 911. So I'm on the floor, half naked. They were trying to help me put clothes on. I'm grasping my breath. From my perspective, as soon as I saw the paramedic come up the stairs and walk into my room, it was weird because I was super, super, super scared until like I felt like a curtain was drawn over my eyes. That's what it felt like, and it was just blackness. It was like a curtain call at a play, like when they pulled a curtain down, it was very slow, and that was it. And I was okay. And my near death experience is kind of boring, but I remember floating. I was like floating in nothing. And it's weird because I felt like I was a part of that nothing. I felt like I was home. And it's funny because to this day, I miss that place. I want to go back. And it was just nothing. It wasn't dark. It wasn't black. I can't explain it. It was just nothing. And I felt like I was a part of that. I didn't feel like my body was floating in it. I just felt like I was nothing. And it was just this overwhelming sense of peace. And I felt like I was there forever. I felt like I was there forever. And then I saw this little light. And as soon as I saw this little light, I sped real fast, like boom. And the light got real big and super bright. And then I woke up and I was in the ambulance. So in reality, I was only out long enough for them to get me into the ambulance and resuscitate me. But I felt like I was gone for years. I think they ended up having to give me like maybe Benadryl and epinephrine and do some other stuff, and they took me to the hospital. And I was able to I forgot how long I stayed, but I was able to go back home. But I'm pretty sure that was a near death experience because I was gone. And when I just kind of did the grace and criteria myself and answered the questions, I got a 13. And that was the score I got, but it can go all the way up to 32. Another experience I wanted to talk about is this would be the last one and then I'll go. I didn't plan to be on here long, but my mother. So back in 2013, my mom had surgery on a hernia. And we were at the hospital in the waiting room, and the doctor came out and he said, I'm so sorry, but we had trouble taking your mom off the ventilator. Off the ventilator after surgery. So we have to send her to ICU and she's got to stay on the ventilator. So basically, we thought that we were going to lose her and that machine was breathing for her. We thought she was gone. They told us like, make plans and, get prepared for her to go. And she was on that vent for days. When she finally came out of it, she told me the story, and her near-death experience was very frightening for her. She said she was in this room sitting down, but it was completely dark, but it wasn't too dark to where she couldn't see shadows. Like she said, she saw several shadows. She said it was so many people in there. It was several shadows. But she explained to me like she felt like she was in a waiting room. She called it the waiting room. And she said that some of the spirits would go out the door. And she said that she was so scared because she knew that if she went out that door, she was not going to see us again and she was not going to come back. So she sat there and she waited for what felt like she thought she was there for years, but she was actually only there a few days. So she was very afraid when she came back out of her experiences. So that was her near death experience. Um, the thing that amazes me about near death experiences is that I think they are like somewhat like a link to show us that there's just so much more around than just here. There's so many dimensions, there's so many different places, and a lot of these experiences exist, and it's just kind of hard to believe that they're not real if so many different people are experiencing such a similar phenomena. Not exactly the same, but similar. The out of body, the floating out of your body, the going through a tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel, the seeing family members that come get you, or as a medium when I'm, overseeing a hospice case, being able to see, like, feel the presence of family members in a room, or patients telling me, like, I had a patient, I didn't even know she was dying, and she told me her husband was in the room. And it's funny because I felt his presence because I smelled cigar smoke so strong, and she died like a few days later. But she just kept on saying, like, my husband's here. My husband's in here. My husband's in here. And she died a few days later. So it just shows proof that we have so much support and love on both sides. So that is my episode for tonight. Um, I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Don't forget, love on yourself. I love you 11 times in the morning. I love you 11 times at night. Love on yourself all day. Explore things that you like. Explore your passions. You know, don't wait around for somebody else to bring you joy. Joy, you have everything you need to find all the joy you want, even when things in your life aren't going so great. My joy is my children. We went skating over the weekend. I spent a little time with them on Christmas. We spent some time together on Christmas. We went skating on Saturday, and I realized how much joy my family gives me, and how much joy I feel on the inside when I'm with them and they're laughing and they're having a good time, or we're cracking jokes, or how much joy I feel when I'm curled up in the bed watching my favorite show and eating my favorite snacks that I shouldn't be eating, you know, or how much joy just to just to be thankful that I'm present. I find joy in being present. With that being said, where do you find your joy at? Peace. Oh, by the way, you have any near death experiences that you want to share? Hit me up. I love hearing about them. I can talk about near death experiences all day. So please, if you have any that you want to share, there's a little question mark. If you're listening on Spotify, there's a question mark that you can click on and you can, like, leave your comment. If you're watching on YouTube, just reach out to me on YouTube under the comments and I'll hit you up and we can talk about, you can come on if you want to and talk about your near death experience, or you can tell me about your experience and I can share it with the world. But I love hearing and talking about near death experiences. Peace.